Hello again, GLL back for another video. 20 years, folks. 20 years. 20 years since the Nintendo 64 first entered our worlds. What have I got to say about the Nintendo 64? Well, the Nintendo 64 is one of the best video game systems of all time. Especially if you're a collector or just someone who likes to keep old video games. The Nintendo 64 is really pretty much an unbeatable system for that. Modern systems, you have problems with the disk drives often enough. You have problems with all kinds of things on modern consoles, but the N64 is new enough so that it has 3D gaming, that it has some of the best games ever made on it, and yet it's still an old-timey style console. It's like a Mega Drive mixed with an Xbox. It's a step between the evolution of consoles. If you look at the old consoles with the cartridges and all that sort of stuff, discs. I mean, there was CD consoles before, but they transitioned into that later. Nintendo and a lot of companies, and obviously the new companies. I mean, there's no way I could ever do the N64 justice, on a short video like this, because it's such a great console with such great games. But let's talk about the negatives first, because I know I'm going to get hate on this video, as I always do. So I'll just get the negatives out of the way right now. Nintendo do not fucking suck. They certainly didn't suck with the N64. So before anybody wants to troll me and tell me Nintendo was shit, get the fuck out of here. We've heard it a million times. Okay, move the fuck on. Okay, the NX might suck. We all know that. We're talking about the Nintendo 64. One of the best game systems ever made. Nintendo in their prime, basically. And the GameCube was great as well, and so on. For me, the Nintendo 64 was just such a special system because out of the box you had 4-player straight away. I got Mario Kart 64. That was the first game I had. Out of the box, 4-player, and that was just incredible, like amazing. To be able to just play 4 players. People take that shit for granted now that you can play online and stuff. Back then 4 players was huge. It was fucking huge just to be able to play 4 fucking players. It was amazing. GoldenEye was legendary. Perfect Dark, amazing. These games, Smash Brothers, Mario Parties, all kinds of like obscure games like the South Park games, the wrestling games. I mean, Star Fox 64, Rogue Squadron, Diddy Kong Racing, Bomberman, Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, all that kind of stuff. The World Is Not Enough. The Zelda games, some like Ocarina of Time is still today considered possibly the best Zelda game of all time, even still today. With all the other Zelda games that have come out, it's still considered the best by many, and I would have to agree with that. And the Majora's Mask is not far behind it. Some people prefer the 2D Zeldas like your Link to the Past and whatnot. I do like Link to the Past, but nothing compares to Ocarina of Time. It's legendary. It's an amazing game. If you haven't played Ocarina of Time, you need to play it. You need to play a lot of these N64 games because they are Nintendo at their best. They really are. Some people get hung up on graphics and whatnot, and they won't play anything from the old days. Okay, see, the thing is, the gameplay still holds up in several of these N64 games, and a lot of these games that are on the N64 don't really exist anymore. We don't get Perfect Darks anymore and GoldenEyes. They're like spy shooters, They're like the pacing in shooters now is literally it's just a spray and pray kind of culture where you just go around shooting things. You're not like investigating stuff and finding different objectives and doing all kinds of different things. And you don't have like a list of objectives you've got to complete, like, you know, spy objectives, download the data, or, you know, hack the security, shit like that. You know, it's like, you know, a Bond game or a spy game. You don't generally get those anymore. Something completely different about them games that are just amazing still to this day. It's like a trilogy just on the N64. I'm not going to talk about all the fucking spin-offs GoldenEye had, but just looking at the N64, you've got GoldenEye, then Perfect Dark, and then EA. Funnily enough, I've forgotten the name of the developer. I should know this. They made 007, Will Is Not Enough, and that was another epic game on the fucking N64 again, because they took GoldenEye and basically ripped it right the fuck off, but it was The World Is Not Enough. You know, it was heavily inspired by GoldenEye. It was like GoldenEye 2, if you like, because it was a new Bond game, but they really, really took a lot of stuff from GoldenEye and then expanded on it. So it was a great game. Everything about the N64 was amazing when at the time it was released. It's not like now when, you know, I'll sit and bitch about DLC and just bullshit and online and stuff. I mean, YouTube didn't fucking exist, but, you know, the internet did exist. You know, there was forums, there was way of communicating with the outside world. And the only thing you could say negatively about the Nintendo 64 was, you know, it's a problem you had with something, not a bullshit business move. So I have to say, 20 years, it is a bit of a shock to me. I knew it was coming this year. I didn't realize it was so soon. But I knew it was this year because they were talking about the patent running out for the N64. And what that will mean is when the patent runs out, we have consoles like the Retron 5 and whatnot that do a load of emulators and stuff and allow you to like rip the ROM from the game and do all that kind of shit. They will be able to do something with N64 games in the future because the license for the N64 has now expired. So we will get hybrid consoles that can run N64 cartridges. That will happen in the next few years, you know, whenever. The N64 emulators are pretty terrible, so they would need to be improved if they were ever to do it, but now there's an incentive there because they can actually make some money from it. So hopefully we should get some kind of hybrid N64 that can, you know, save game data and stuff, because that would be really useful for N64 fans, collectors and the like. You know, I would like to play US games, for instance, stuff like this. So it's been a fucking great experience, you know. I have to toast it. I have to toast the N64. I have to toast Nintendo for, you know, I mean, this could be the end for Nintendo. I don't know. I can't predict it because they will not tell us anything about their new console, but it's not looking good right now. So let's just be happy that they gave us the N64, one of the best consoles ever made. I haven't really talked about the controller, but see, the thing is, it's easy to criticize the controller now, but back then it was really good. So, you know, obviously controllers have improved from the Nintendo 64, so they've got better and better and better. The GameCube controller was an improvement, and so on. So, the N64 controller is a good, solid controller. Could it be better? Yes, which is why they improved upon it. But it's a classic controller. It's heavily stylized. It's unique, and it just brings back so many memories. People with big fucking hands like me can't even hold the controller the way you're supposed to. But who cares? Because it's the Nintendo 64, one of the best systems ever fucking made. I recently, you know, not so long back, I think it was a few months ago, I actually went back and played Shadows of the Empire because I hadn't done one of the last levels. Finally completed that game only a few months ago because I just hadn't had a chance to get back to it. It was just really, it was a really annoying level. The last few levels of that game are really annoying, and I just finally managed to fucking do it in the end. So just goes to show you can always go back and back to a game even if it's fucking years and years and years later. So that was fun. So yeah, so many great games. Just an amazing console. Even third party games like Worms Armageddon, hours of fun. Hours of fun playing that with my friends. Hours of fun. Even just like the basic football games and stuff like that. Just so much fun. I still haven't finished Donkey Kong 64. I really should go back to that at some point. I got that quite late on. I was trying to just get a load of games for the library. It was, it was, it wasn't when the GameCube was out. It was later than that. I think it was when the 360 was out. The 360 was out, and Donkey Kong 64 I saw for a very reasonable price. I can't remember what it was. Might have been about 30 quid boxed with the expansion pack as well. And I bought that, and then I put the expansion pack in my brother's N64 because he didn't have one. And I was like 30 quid with it. It was a really good deal at the time. I've got another spare expansion pack here, and I've got another one in my spare N64. So I've got plenty of expansion packs, which are pretty hard to fucking find. So I thought I'd better get some in case I fucking need them. But yeah, fucking insane the amount of fun I've had with the N64. I really need to go back and play it now. Just reminiscing about it it's just one of them things. Like, you can't really knock the N64 too much. It's just such a great console. It really is. It's got its own style as well. You don't get that with consoles anymore. It's got its own style. You're playing an N64. You don't know you're playing an Xbox One. An Xbox One, you plug your controller into the PC, you're playing a PC game, but you could be playing on Xbox One. It's the same. PS4, you play it with the PS4 part on the PC. I don't even know if you can fucking do that because I never tried it, but it's like you play on the PS4, isn't it? Now, obviously, you have exclusive games. You're not going to get Uncharted anywhere else, so that feels like an exclusive. But you don't. It's not. It doesn't feel like a PS4 game, does it? It just feels like a game that's exclusive to the PS4. Whereas the N64 feels like an N64 game. A PS1 game feels like a PS1 game. A Sega Saturn game feels like a Sega Saturn game. They're all different, the way that they're programmed, and the way that the character models are. Like, the N64 has got always criticised for blocky characters and stuff, but then the graphics just look a lot better. Because it's 64-bit and it has just way better looking graphics, but yet the characters seem more blocky because of the way the console is designed that way. Whereas the PlayStation has smoother character models, but nowhere near as good graphical quality overall. And you just know you're playing a PS1 game. You know you're playing an N64 game. This is a great classic console. I'm sure the PlayStation 1 anniversary has already been and gone, but I don't really give a fuck about the PlayStation 1. It was a good system for what it was. Had some fun on the SmackDown games. Decent system, not the worst thing I've ever played. But the N64, man, it's just such a great console, just simply because I think the three things that hit me when I first got the N64 and playing it, the 4-player, the 2-player, all the co-op, the multiplayer stuff, and the quality of the graphics, the 3D games, all this stuff, brand new at the time, revolutionary, great fucking system, and that's all there is to it. And some of the best games you'll ever play. So I salute the brains behind the N64. They knew their fucking shit back then. They might not know what they're fucking doing now, but they knew their shit back then. Great fucking system. You know, I could talk for hours about, you know, the first Smash Brothers. Played that for hours with my friends. GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Mario Kart. Just a great system. I don't want to ramble anymore, so I'm going to leave it there, but yeah, I'll tell you what I will do though. I've been trying to get my fucking live streaming going. This is a bit of an incentive. I'll see if I can get it fucking running so I can show you some of these fucking games. Feel free to subscribe. See you later.